Black Friday is here, and with it, the moment you've been waiting for. My incredible Black Friday deal on my Start Your Podcast program is here, but it will not last forever. For the first time ever, I am offering my core group program with a 5-pay option, making it easier than ever to get started with your podcasting journey. And remember, you have the flexibility to choose from 2 start dates in early 2024 so that it fits seamlessly into your plans. This is your chance to turn your podcasting dreams into reality, and the time to act is now. Don't hesitate. The deal ends on the 30th of November at 9 p.m. UK time, and spots are limited. Head over to donnaeade.com/BFO right now to secure your spot on the Start Your Podcast program. Make this Black Friday the day you commit to your podcasting goals. Get started on your podcast journey today. Visit donnaeade.com/BFO. That's Bravo Foxtrot Oscar. Take advantage of this unbelievable Black Friday deal before it's gone. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers. Act now and make 2024 the year that your podcast takes off. You're listening to the Mindset and Action podcast, bringing you the map to grow and streamline your business in 2023. I'm your host, Donna Eade, your go-to gal for all things podcasting, planning and productivity. And I'll be bringing you all that plus mindset goodness from experts with knowledge to share. Let's make 2023 the year of success in your business. It is essential to have good tools, but it is also essential that the tools should be used in the right way. Wallace D. Wattles. Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset and Action podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. Today we have Karianne from Bespoke Events with us. She's come to talk about how systems and processes manage to save her a huge amount of time in her business. And we're going to be talking about the tools that she uses to help her to streamline her processes. And you know that is one of my pillars for this podcast, is how to streamline your business. So I can't wait for this conversation. All of the tools that we talk about in today's show will be linked in the show notes, so do head over there if you are interested in finding out more about them. And without further ado, let's jump into today's show. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you here today, and I'm so glad to introduce you to my guest, Karianne from Bespoke Events. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hello, Donna. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
This, guys, almost didn't happen. I mean, we've literally been in contact for about nearly a year, I think, at this point.
Yep.
It's been crazy. So I'm really glad that we're actually getting to have this conversation today. So before we jump in, and today we're going to be talking about system implementation and why it's so important for your business. And we're going to take a look at Karianne's business and how she's done that in there. But before we jump into all of that goodness, I would love it if you would explain to my listeners a little bit about who you are, what it is you do, your background, and where you are in your business at the moment.
Well, I will start from the beginning. So my name is Karianne, as you know. I actually started out my career many moons ago, more than I wish to admit. I used to be an actress when I was younger. And I've always loved kind of events and bringing people together, celebrations. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do when I was younger. I do sometimes joke that I'm still not quite sure I know what I want to do now. But I knew that I loved people. I loved helping people and bringing them together to celebrate. So I started out my career as a PA. Wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and I worked with lots of weird, wonderful people and different companies, and basically found myself working in financial services. So mainly for investment banks, organising conferences, road shows, corporate events, so things like whiskey tastings and golf days and all of that. And after doing that for quite a long time, I kind of got a bit bored, if I'm honest. Especially doing conferences. We were doing the same conferences in the same way, in the same place every year. And it was a bit like, I'm sorry, which one is this again? Which year are we in? Oh yeah, we're back here doing this again. And I really loved what I did. I love the people side of things. But it got me to thinking, why do we have to approach it like this? Why can't a corporate event be as fun and as engaging and as memorable as going to a party or a wedding or something like that? So after years of working in house, about 3 years ago, I started my business with one mission really, and that was to create corporate events that were different and that were fun and memorable, resonated with people. Um, and that was 3 years ago now. We are in a different place to where we were then. Lots of ups and downs, challenges, wins, losses, all of that. But it is sometimes I think you have to take stock and look back and be like, wow, actually, that's where we were 3 years ago, and I'm not the same person I was anymore. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, I think. Um, so now here we are today, and we've got three areas of the business. So we do corporate events, which is I think something that I'll always love because it's just what I know. So we do corporate events, some for clients we might do one event a year, maybe for others we'll do one a quarter, or for others we'll do a whole calendar of events throughout the year that range from things like roundtable dinners, product launches, thought leadership pieces, conferences, away days, overnight stays with clients, dinners. They're really, really different. Then the other side of the business is we do weddings and private parties. That kind of sits under the newly formed Bespoke by Karianne, and that's where I really get to inject my little personal brand of fun into a wedding or a party. I like to try and break away from tradition, especially with our weddings. I think it's really important nowadays that couples have had their eyes opened to the fact that you don't need to plan a wedding in that very traditional way anymore.
Yeah.
You don't need to go and get married in church. You don't need to go to a traditional venue. You don't even need to have a sit down meal. The way that I plan a wedding, this is a very strange thing to say. I almost plan it like a corporate event. And what I mean by that is I think about what the end objective is. So how do you want to feel on the day? How do you want your guests to feel?
Yeah.
What do you want them to be saying that your wedding was like? And how can we make it different? So that's the corporate event side. That's kind of the Bespoke by Karianne side, the weddings and the parties. And the other part of the business is our venues. So we started off with a 70-acre equestrian farm in Surrey, a blank canvas venue, a field basically, with beautiful views, but a field. So we started off doing weddings and corporate festivals, which I love.
Sounds amazing.
And then from there, we have our second venue, which is also in Surrey. It's a 1,500-acre private farm. It is huge, but it's got woodland, it's got lakes, it's got huge kind of vast fields with beautiful trees and amazing views. And again, it gives you that canvas to then create an event from the ground up. And then, like buses, literally in the past, I would say past couple of months, we've got three more venues that we've signed. So all of a sudden, we have gone from having one venue to five. So it's interesting to see where things take you sometimes in life. And it
Yeah.
looks like that perhaps that is where we are with things. And we're very, very big champions of working with local businesses, lovely artisan producers, people that have a real strong emphasis on sustainability. So I guess there is a kind of natural theme throughout what we do, whether it's for our corporate clients, our weddings, and throughout our venues. It's offering something that is unique, it's different. It really, so it might be doing a corporate away day, but that's tied into wellness, using local wellness practitioners, making the most of what is out in nature, the land, all of that, incorporating that with some delicious cooking live over fire and foraging and all that good wholesome stuff that I think people are craving now when you kind of come out of that work environment. So that is
Absolutely.
where in a nutshell, appreciate that was quite a big nutshell. That's where we are now.
I love it. No, that's great. And I really appreciate that kind of theme that you've got running through that may have been like accidental to start with, but has just kind of grown into this very organic event system, which is fantastic. And I really sounds beautiful. And I so need to come down and see these venues because they sound absolutely amazing.
You absolutely do.
It's a I loved what you said about not really knowing what you want to do because my theme song in life is the Baz Luhrmann sunscreen song. Do you remember that from when we were young?
I do. And do you know what? That was a reading at our wedding.
I love
I've got
that.
That's really
Yep.
funny. I've got the lyrics printed in a frame in our downstairs loo.
I love that because it's that line. It's like some of the most interesting 40-year-olds I know still don't. And I love that line. So I'm always quoting that. And, when my daughter's saying things and I was like, well, take care of your knees. You'll miss those when they're gone. But she
Exactly
actually
that.
tore her ACL when she went skiing when she was 16. So she has actually already lost a bit of knee functionality. But yeah, I love that. That was great. So what I would love for you to talk about now is let's look at what your team is like. So we're going to go into systems, and I think systems are really important. And I, for one, wish that I had started my business with a set of systems in place. You run a business in a box. Here's all the systems that you need, and they're all done for you, and you just need to implement them. But that's not how business starts. And a lot of the times, systems evolve and things develop and you're like, oh, now I need a system for that, or now I need an SOP for that. So it's not as easy as starting from the beginning. But then when you throw a team into the mix, there's an extra layer of we need the left hand to know what the right hand is saying so that we can actually work together on this. So systems are really important. So I would love to hear from you how your team has developed, like from the beginning, from when you first started, and what does it look like now? What kind of roles do you have within the business?
Well, when it first started, it was just me. And I did like to think that I was quite organized. I'd been, a PA and EA a lot of my working life. Um, then it turns out that actually, when you run a business and you've got to all of a sudden be marketing, you've got to be sales, you've got to be business development, you've got to be finance, you've got to be social media, you've got to be everything.
Yeah.
Turns out I'm not that organized. So I think that was the moment when we were like, yes, we need to get some systems in place here. So it started out, as a lot of businesses do, from literally my dining room table,
Mm.
with my laptop, emails, spreadsheets, putting appointments in the calendars, putting follow-ups in the calendars. And now I look at where we are now in the space of 3 years, it has radically changed. So it's gone from being just me to my amazing colleague Eve, who is my right hand woman. I literally could not do this without her. She is an absolute gem. Way over skilled for the job that she has, but it's amazing because she's got a kind of a finance background. She's really in the detail. We are the opposite of each other. I can go out and,
Perfect.
talk to a room full of strangers. That is her idea of hell. She finds pure joy in the detail in spreadsheets. That is my worst nightmare.
Mm.
So we've really found how we work together really complements each other. Then, to add a third dimension into the mix, my husband has kind of stepped into the business now.
Ah,
So he also has his own construction and property company, but he is Mr. Numbers. So he deals with the finances, the legals, commercials. That's his skill set, and he does it really, really well. So between the three of us, there's actually a really, really helpful tool. If anyone out there is wondering about hiring people, I'm sure everyone's heard of things like that, there's kind of personality profiling systems, like there's Lumina Sparks, what's the really famous, the Myers-Briggs, all of
Myers-Briggs, yeah.
those. And there's one called It is, what's it called? It's called Genius U Test. And it was set up by an entrepreneur called Roger Hamilton. And it is absolutely fantastic. You can take a free test in like a couple of minutes. But it basically tells you, and I have fallen foul of this myself, that when you're hiring, it's very easy to hire someone that is like yourself. But actually, that is
Not what you
completely
need.
the wrong. No, not at all. And actually, it says something like, I think their catchphrase is something like, if you judge a fish on how to climb a tree, it will always think it's stupid. So it's all about
Yes.
actually finding your skill set and what you are good at.
Mm.
Um, but I highly recommend that. So it's very useful for the hiring process to make sure that you are hiring the complementary skill sets that you need, especially when it's a small team.
Yes.
Luckily, I'm like a red. I'm an extrovert. Eve is a blue. She's very kind of in the detail. And then my husband, I think, is a green. So very much like blue sky thinking, great at setting things up. And between the three of us, we are a small but mighty team.
Yeah.
So that is super helpful. And then basically kind of along the journey, we slowly started implementing bits and pieces. It was quite piecemeal, but some of the things that have been fundamental in the way that our business works are, I've made a note of them because I think this will be really helpful for people. So what do we implement first? I would say it was probably Zero for your accounting software. That has been game changing for us. That's super helpful. Expense systems, we use one called Dext, where you basically take a photo, it uploads it, and it can get very complicated sometimes, especially if you are a service-based business like we are, that can have multiple clients or multiple venues, and they've got to be broken down into different ways. Trying to still do that with a spreadsheet is a nightmare. So
Mm.
Zero and Dex have been super handy. There's a great one if you travel around a lot, like we do, going to site visits, meeting with clients. There's a really good mileage app called Trip Catcher. That's super helpful. And again, each member of the team can have that. And you literally just put in postcode, publish, done.
Mm.
Rather again, like messing around with spreadsheets. Again, I said that is not my area of expertise. So basically, my mileage didn't get done for 6 months because I didn't do it. So this is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Another really good one that we started using about a year ago is Toggle for tracking your time. And that's got multifaceted benefits. Number one, it's really good if you look at what your clearly defined roles and responsibilities are within the business. So for me, I am sales, marketing to a degree, and BD. And if you are logging your time on Toggle every day, if I'm not spending probably at least 70% of my time doing that,
Mm.
I need to find a way to take off the table all the stuff that I'm wasting my time on. So that is things like admin, it's emails. That is not what I should be focusing on. But I
No.
know how difficult it is when you see your emails mounting up. And I think as well from my kind of EA background, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, an overrun inbox is a nightmare, and therefore I'm not organized.
Mm.
But it's trying to bring yourself out of the nitty gritty, the in the business stuff, and actually look more holistically from above and think, right, I'm actually working on this business now. Where do I need to ensure I'm spending my time?
Yeah.
The other thing that's been game changing is a CRM system. So we've started using Monday.com, which is great, especially when we've got lots of different events, different clients taking place, timelines, deposits, balances that need paying, suppliers. There is a lot. It's quite a noisy business, but that has really, really helped to kind of clarify all of that organization, all of that thinking.
Love that.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The other great thing about using things like CRM system is the data that you get from that.
Yeah.
So things like we get an inquiry through to booking, looking generally speaking, how long does that process take? So that we can use that going forward. Again, helps with things like cash flow. It all feeds into each other. So
Mm.
that has been super helpful as well.
Yeah. I love that. So I will try and link as many of those options for you in the show notes, guys, so you can go and take a look. I have heard of Monday. I thought it was only a project management tool. So interesting that it's CRM as well. I use Asana for my project management, which I absolutely love. And it's free to get started if you're on your own, which I am, which is another great thing when we're talking about implementing systems, is even if you are on your own, guys, you need to start putting the systems in place, because as soon as you hire somebody, they're going to be going, how do you do X? How do you do Y? And if you haven't got the systems in place, then you've got to literally spoon feed them that. And then it's almost like you're doubling your workload, because you've got to do all your work and then you're teaching them how to do all their work as well. So it doesn't really save you much. But if you've got the systems in place and you've got the SOPs in place, it can make it a lot easier to train a new employee or a new partner within the business. So that is a fantastic one. And I was going to say, there was another thing that I was going to mention, but I can't remember it now. So if it comes back to me, I'll mention it.
There was actually one thing that you just reminded me of, and I can't remember what it's called, which is really frustrating. It's like Zoom, but you can basically present and record it and send it to someone. And I can't remember what it's called. But basically, in terms of if you are training someone, I have to tell you afterwards,
Is it
and you can put
Loom?
it in. Yes, Loom. That's it.
Yeah.
So if you are, for example, like you said about training up staff on a certain way of doing things, if you do it the first time and you record it over Loom and save down, then you've basically got like a kind of almost like a video
Training manual.
catalog.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
another useful thing as
Perfect.
well.
Perfect. Okay. So we'll link all of those for you if you want to go and check them out. So let's bring it to the systems then. So take us back to the beginning. And I know you kind of touched on the fact that you kind of thought you were organized and then you found out that you weren't. So take us back to the beginning. What did your systems, or lack thereof, look like when you first started? When you first started, was there anything that you did sort of go, okay, I need a system for this, put this in place, because I think, sometimes we do go in completely like nothing. Other times we're like, I know that for this I need a system to do that, so you put that in place, but you don't even think about other systems that you might or could use.
So I think in the beginning, it very much was like simple office systems, as in like Outlook and spreadsheets. So I think I relied on spreadsheets quite heavily for a long time. So kind of tracking when I had inquiries coming in, putting a reminder in there when I needed to follow up, diarising that. But if you think about the layers and how much time that takes,
Yeah.
we've also now automated a little bit more kind of the inquiry process. In the beginning, I was very new to, I guess it's largely a sales role, which I think, being a PA before, and the acting stuff I did as well, it's not wasn't really using those skill sets. So I think I would get an inquiry come through and I'd be like, oh, brilliant. Well, I'll just meet you down on site. And then, it's taking me half an hour to get down there, and I'm there for an hour, and then, half an hour back. And all of a sudden that is 2 hours out of my day. I think I became really aware of how I was using my time and whether it's a good use of my time. So as now we do get a lot of inquiries come through for weddings and events. We have, we slightly tweak it, but it's largely a templated email that gives all the information that prospective clients could need in terms of how we work with our clients, how we our differentiators, how we charge, our venues now, all of that stuff. And that kind of wheedles out quite a lot of people who are either really keen and they want to kind of go down the journey, and you start talking about options, or people that are just window shopping. And I think when it comes to weddings as well, there are a lot of window shoppers, and it would be very, very easy to kind of waste quite a lot of time in the nicest possible way. So in the beginning, and this is a mistake that I made, but it's an organic process, right? You're learning.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I thought that it would be a really good idea. So a lot of couples have been to look at like typical wedding venues. They might be like stately homes, that kind of thing. And they get offered, right, if you want to get married here, these are the timings for your wedding day. They're all the same for every single couple that comes through the door. It's package A, B, or C. It's, did you go for the PIMS reception? Did you go for the carver, or did you go for the champagne? And almost people can tell like how much you've spent on your wedding.
Mm.
And that just gave me the ick. And I was like, oh, I want to be able to offer something different for
Yeah.
people, for couples. So I went the other way and I was like, right, you have full flexibility over everything. So do you want this? Do you want that? What about this? And I think couples got overwhelmed
Yeah.
because building a wedding from the ground up in the middle of a field is very overwhelming for someone
Yeah.
who's not used to doing it. So now what we do is we have basically, instead of being like, right, I'll build your wedding for you, let's go through every single line item, is we basically put together 3 packages that are loosely representative of, if you are, I don't know, looking to keep your wedding under £20,000, this is the kind of format of how your day, the kind of food that you'd be served, the timings of your day, what the entertainment would be like, etc. Versus the other end, if you're looking 30 grand plus to spend on your wedding day, these are the kind of options that are open to you. And they are absolutely flexible and
Yeah.
can be tweaked, but we've kind of lumped what I call the unsexy stuff together, which is things like a generator and toilets and security and land hire. It's things like, if you need to renovate a house, you buy a new house and all of a sudden the windows are buggered and you need to spend £7,000 on new windows, and like no one even see, it's not like you've just bought,
Yeah.
just had your bathroom redone and everyone's like, oh wow, that looks beautiful and I love that kind of crystal design you've gone for.
Yeah.
It's just like, I've just got new windows.
Yeah.
So we've used that kind of ethos to be like, don't worry, we've packaged all that boring stuff in, but you do need it. Like that is, you can't not have that.
Yeah.
So that was a mistake and it is working so much better now that we've done that.
Yeah.
So that was a mistake that we made in the beginning. I think, yeah, you just learn, don't you? I think doing it over and over again, you start to realize actually the people that are interested, the people that aren't, or the other hardest thing was that I think there is a misconception that getting married in a field is going to be cheaper than a venue. And it's just not.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely. You've got to build the walls, for goodness sake, for a start.
exactly, you've got to build the event space.
Yeah.
So it can be, there is an element of education there, and whilst also not trying to destroy any dreams at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So being like, well, no, you are going to need more than £10.50, but that what this does mean is that you will have a wedding that is unlike anything you've ever been to before, and it
Yeah.
is completely bespoke to you, and it will be authentically you, and
Yeah.
you have say over everything. So it's trying to marry those two things up, really.
Fabulous. Love that. So going back to that time in your business where it was just you and you were, starting to put all these systems in place. Now you told me previously that, implementing the systems you have has saved you got about 50% of your workload off your plate, which is absolutely amazing. So I want to know, was there a particular breaking point for you? Like, was there something that went terribly wrong and you were like, okay, no, we need to put these systems in place? Or was it just a progression of sort of overwhelm that this wasn't working and the balls were getting dropped?
I think it probably was just the overwhelm.
Mm.
And I think it's so difficult sometimes when you're so close to something and you are spending a lot of time on it. And I think it was probably more the time that my husband started stepping into the business, who has that, he's not in the detail. He's
Yeah.
not, I'm the kind of the creative mind that once I start speaking to a couple about how they met and where they live and where they go on holiday and perhaps about the bit about their family and their culture and their heritage, that's when literally my brain lights up and I start thinking about all these beautiful little things that we could incorporate into their day that even they haven't thought of, that will make it, authentically theirs. And I think it was when I was getting, spending lots of time on stuff, and it was when Nick was like, okay, but have you followed up with this person, and have you done that, and then what about this? And I'm like, oh no, I haven't had time to do that. And
Mm.
it's having that objective view of the business as a whole and be like, but actually these fundamental things could allow the business to scale and grow,
Yeah.
rather than focus on, the kind of flowers and, whether they're going to have disco balls hanging from their marquee, which is a bit that I like. And I
All the
think
fun
as well,
bits, yeah.
well, and also fundamentally, we're creatures of habit, right? And it is natural that you would want to spend your time doing the things that you like. And it's really interesting looking back. I was going through a folder the other day about like my end of year notes from when I was a PA. And by the way, my personality type is like really not good for being a PA. Which is why I think I kind of moved into events, because it's fun, it's people, it's talking, it's performance, it's out there. Whereas like, doing someone's expenses, I'm like, no, that's boring, don't want to do that. Whereas yeah, my end of year review notes, like, Karen has great energy around the office, although we do get a sense that she focuses on things that she wants to do. I'm like, that is absolutely true. Yeah, that is absolutely true. So I think, yeah, now I finally found my groove of what I love doing,
Yeah.
and that I'm good at it, and then growing the business as well.
Yeah, I love that. And let's go back to the saving, like getting 50% of your workload off your plate. So how did that start? Like, what are the systems that you put in place that made the biggest impact on removing that workload for you? And how did that kind of look?
So I would say putting things into the CRM system. So from the moment we get, inquiries, details go in there, and then automating, yes, I've sent them something. Yes, I'm going to follow up on this date. I'll then do a second follow up. Then that's it. That definitely really, really helped. The other thing as well that is super helpful is getting some sort of like assistance, support, personal assistant, and whether that a VA is a great, great option. Someone that can basically, manage your inbox, reply on your behalf, set up meetings, put the mileage in trip catcher, plan your travel. I don't think I realized before how much time I was spending on that. And I think because it's something I've always done for other
I was
people,
going to say,
although
that's funny because you used to do, like, that was your whole job at one point.
exactly that. And I think I'm probably also the worst person to work with, because I used to do that. If something, I think I find it quite challenging. And this is a learning for me, is to kind of accept that people have
Yeah,
different ways
step
of
back
doing
from
things.
it.
Yeah, and be like, oh no, I wouldn't do it. Like, tell you what, I'll just do it. No, it's just easier if I do it. And shifting that mindset is probably one of the biggest challenges that I am still trying to overcome.
Yeah.
And I think loads of entrepreneurs feel like that, because it is just easier if I do it myself, and it's got to be my way. But unless you spend the time, you kind of, communication is also really, really key within the
Yeah.
team. Spend the time showing someone how to do something and the reason why to do it that way as
Yes.
well. Like there's a silly thing, and I remember I thought my husband was really annoying at the time when he taught me this, but even like with labeling files or documents within a folder, in the beginning you put them year, month, date. So it would be, I don't know, let's pretend it's my birthday. It would be like 23rd of April 25. That's assuming my birthday this year. Because what that does is when you click into the folder, it'll automatically bring the newest up the top.
Yeah.
And it can save you so much time if you are trying to look for an amended quote, contract, something like that. But I thought my husband was really annoying
Just
at the
being
time for telling me
pedantic.
that. And now I am that pedantic person
Yeah.
being like, oh, why have you not labeled it like that? Of course you do it that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Definitely a learning curve. And I think it's really important that that you've recognized that in yourself, because I think a lot of business owners do this because we do everything in our business to start with. It is very hard to let go and let the management of something happen. And I know I've listened to many entrepreneurs Amy Porterfield in particular has spoken on her podcast about that exact issue of, as she started to expand her team, letting them take control of something that is her baby. And I don't like to call businesses babies. We'll talk about that another day. But, you know, something that she's put her heart and soul into for so long and wants to see it succeed. And I can completely understand the issue of trying to let go of something, especially when it's something that you have done external from your business as well. It's kind of ingrained in you, and those things like knowing that it is quicker to do X than to do Y and seeing somebody waste time doing it the other way has got to be frustrating. So that goes back to what we were saying in the beginning about doing those loom trainings and making sure that people understand the reason. And I think that was really important what you just said, making sure that they know why they do it that way and not the other, because you can teach them one way and they'll go, oh well, actually it's quicker to do it this way. If they don't know the reason why you want it that way, then it can create issues, conflicts, and we don't want any of that when we're working, do we? We don't want conflict.
We definitely don't, no.
So what would be your advice for other business owners looking to help their team to work more effectively together? Because for my listeners, we're probably looking at people that are on their own at the moment, maybe wanting to take on a VA, or people who have a very small team, maybe one or two people that work with them. What would be your advice for making sure that they can work more effectively together? And you might want to talk about a little bit about how you guys now work with your systems and sort of any sort of things that you've got in place to make sure that you're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, right in the hiring process, make sure you do some sort of profiling, even if it is, and like typically there is like a certain profile if you need a PA that is the best fit for that, not someone who is doing sales and marketing like me. The other thing that's been really good is having, so we have a meeting structure that's between myself and my husband and Eve, my amazing colleague, where every Monday morning we have a look ahead meeting and we talk about kind of all the projects that we're working on. And it kind of also kind of breaks down into categories such as, you know, if I'm doing, you know, recording podcasts and things like this with you, other key things that is happening in the week that we therefore need to inform other people of. So we've also got an outsourced marketing team, and they help us with our websites, all our kind of like branding and collateral. Again, we also have a weekly check-in meeting with them. So everything on that look ahead meeting on the Monday basically sets you up for what everyone's going to be working on that week. We'll then have a check-in midweek on a Wednesday. Does anyone need to speak to anyone about anything? How's this going? Have we progressed that any further? And then we have a wrap-up meeting on a Friday. So that has been game changing, actually, because otherwise I think it's very easy just to kind of like blithely, you know, just kind of work through things, and something that's a priority to me may not be a priority for my colleague Eve, for example.
Yeah.
But she might not understand, because my driver is sales, getting money into the business, cash flow. And again, then that feeds into what Nick does, because that is really important. He's got his eyes on the numbers all the time. So again, just making sure that we're kind of putting the systems in place, even things like systemizing regular touch points with clients, that whole kind of, you know, account management piece as well. It's really important that not only you are planning the event, you know, really well and everything's on time, but how your client is feeling. And I hear it so many times from couples that are getting married that they book their supplier and then they
don't
haven't
hear
heard
from
them
them.
for 6 months.
Yeah,
and
absolutely
like,
petrified that they're not going to turn up on the day because they haven't heard from them for 8 months. It's crazy.
exactly. And I'm really aware of that.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you manage people's expectations, where you're like, just so you know, we are now going to speak in 3 months' time. I'm going to be getting on the back end. Absolutely message me if you need anything, but just so you know, I think if you
That's my
manage
next contact point. Yeah.
Exactly that. What else? Regular comms with the team is really important. So we have
do you use a system for your communications? Or is it just texting?
We use a very, very sophisticated communicating tool called WhatsApp. It is,
I love
do
that.
you
I
know
love that.
what?
It
It's,
works.
it works, and so I'm not great like reading emails, replying to emails. I'm much better sending WhatsApps. I send voice notes. That for me is the easiest way to get things kind of out of my brain. Um, what else do we do? We've got weekly check-ins. We have got a team WhatsApp chat that we use for, kind of touching
On the
base.
go.
We always try to as well talk about, kind of fostering a culture of being good communicators.
Yeah.
Like we try and celebrate small wins as well. So we've signed a new venue, which we've done, quite a few recently. Fortunately, we are also based next door to a very nice pub, where we are in
Perfect.
Surrey. So again, it's like, do you know what? We've had a really, why don't let's just pop over and we'll have one. And then that's our opportunity to talk a bit more offline about, what's going on. And also importantly, about how we are, how are your families, how are your children, how's your husband, how's your son's new job, all of that stuff. Like we are all emotionally invested in each other,
Yeah.
the business, and externally what's around you.
Yeah.
So yeah, good, clear, open conversation. And what else? Yeah, celebrating the wins. Um,
I
yeah,
think that's
I
really
think
important to celebrate the wins. And I like the way you sort of spoke about that, because it is about your business supporting your family. That's why we do it. So bringing the family element in and making it more of, we're checking in with the family, because that's why we're doing what we're doing. So, if the family's not, how can we help? There's something that's going on at home that you need to have a little bit more. How can we accommodate that to it? Because at the end of the day, when you find good people to work with, you don't want to lose them because something terrible is going on at home and you've got no idea, and you're just piling on the work and they're feeling overwhelmed. So to have that open communication is so, so important. So I love that. One thing I would love to ask you, because I know that in corporate, I've been there, you've been there, meetings can go on for absolute ever and nothing actually gets done or comes out of it. And you think that was a whole waste of my time. When you have these meetings, and you sort of said you have three a week, how long do they run for? And have you got an agenda that you kind of like, let's hit this out, boom, 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 and then you're off on your merry way? So that we can kind of get an idea. Because you think 3 meetings a week, when we're thinking back to our corporate days, like that could be like 6 hours of meetings.
yeah, not 6 hours. So the look ahead meeting on a Monday is usually about an hour. If we have a lot of events at the same time, then it can be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Wednesday check-in meeting, 15 minutes, because you've got your action points. It's like, where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Where's that?
Yeah.
Friday wrap up this morning, it was, well, this week on Friday, it's been half an hour. And yes, there is an agenda. And again, this is something I used to be, I guess, kind of just turn up and see what happens kind of
Yeah.
person. Now, again, I've had it ingrained in me that for every meeting, you need to have an agenda. Every meeting, not only for the outwards perception that you've basically got your SHIT together,
Yeah.
but also from being concise and making sure that you've kind of reached the objectives of why you are sit down and talking.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so good. So good. Awesome. Right. Wow, that was fantastic. I love having a deep dive into a business and seeing how the inner workings work. And I think it's really good for everybody to kind of get an overview of how somebody else is doing it, so that they can kind of go, okay, I'm not as far behind as I thought I was, or okay, other people struggle with that too. So I think it's definitely worth getting in touch with somebody that can help you start to look at your systems and what you can put in place. And you can do that with like a business coach or a VA that specializes in systems. There are lots of people out there that can help you have a look at your business. And one of my friends, Carly, she calls herself your business bestie, and I absolutely love it because she really is. But she can come into your business, she can take an overview of what it is that you're doing, and she can easily see where certain systems could save you time. So that's the kind of person that you want, who can come in and have that overarching holistic look at your business and go, do you know what, you are taking way too much time on that. this will save you so much time. So thank you so much for coming on and talking about those points. Is there anything that you've got coming up over Christmas that you would like to talk about or tell us about? What have you got for this festive period that you're up to?
Well, we're already fully underway with planning Christmas parties. And now, because we typically plan things 6 months in advance, we are starting to think about summer parties now.
Oh,
So that
wow.
is crazy. And as I said, our portfolio of managed venues has rapidly expanded within the Surrey area. So if you book events for your company, or you know someone that does, or you work for an agency and you are looking to create a really different off-site or team building or corporate festival that's within an hour of London, please do come and speak with us. All of our Surrey venues are within an hour of London, and we love to incorporate being outside. And whether you're looking to unplug and reconnect with your team or with your business, or whether you are looking to get people outside and give them a heart pumping thrill experience that involves a bit of teamwork and strategy, along with excellent food that's all within a certain mile radius. Perhaps you want to enjoy some really nice, delicious cold beers as well on a summer's day. We work with some amazing sustainable breweries as well in the Surrey area. Get in touch with us, because with 5 of our venues across our portfolio, we will definitely have something that we will be able to offer you to give you a fresh and innovative new experience for your team or company.
Love that. Love that. I will leave all of Karianne's information in the show notes so you can go over and check her out. So before we wrap up, I have my quick fire round, which I absolutely love to do with my guests because it just gets us to know you a little bit more on a personal level. So if you are up for that, we will hit these 3 questions.
I'm ready.
Okay, so the first one is, because I am a total bookworm, what is the book that you have read that has changed your life to date? The best book that you've read?
The best book that I didn't actually read it. I like to listen to my books.
I do
So
too.
yeah, brilliant. So the one that I think has had the biggest impact on my life is called The Art of Exceptional Living by Jim Rohn. It was recorded in the early 90s. It's a very easy listen. It almost sounds like you're listening to stand-up comedy.
Oh,
But
wow.
it's a very easy listen, but the fundamental rules of how to lead an exceptional life, and it will give you little snippets like hard decisions, easy life, easy decisions, hard life.
Oh my God,
And there's
yeah.
lots of these little kind of nuggets in there that I think will deeply resonate and help, especially if you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, put things into context and just keep going.
Yeah. Love that. I really love that. Okay, I will link that in the show notes, guys. What is your go-to favorite snack if you're in a hurry?
Favorite snack if I'm in a hurry? Either a cup of coffee or an egg. Eggs are such a superfood, and I know that sounds really random, but I often will have like a little stash of like boiled eggs in my fridge. You've got to be a bit careful where you eat them, because they can not smell very nice, but they are like one of the most nutritionally complete things that you can eat on the go,
Yeah.
unless you're Stephen Bartlett and he'll say Huel, but yeah, you know.
Yeah, of course. We all know that one. Yeah, no, I like that actually. I had a friend when I was in my 20s, when we used to go drinking, her mum literally had a whole bowl on her of boiled eggs, and that would be her breakfast on the run. She'd take 2 boiled eggs to work with her and eat them on the way to work. So you're not alone with that one.
That's brilliant.
What is your ultimate me time thing to do when you're not rushing around making everybody else's events beautiful? What do you do to just chill out and relax?
Do you know what? I never thought I'd find this such a hard question to answer. I actually, and it's funny, I think, because we've got 2 small children, so we've got
Mm,
an almost 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. There's only 17 months between them. So when we're not working, we are parenting.
yeah.
My favorite thing to do is probably either go and have a bath with a nice glass of wine, or sit and do my nails, or I'll tell you what I love doing. I love watching cooking programs. And Rick Stein, for me, watching him maybe travel throughout France or Spain, that is like a hug for me. I love watching
Love
anything
that.
about food, cooking. What else? I mean, I think when you're a parent of young children, even just like going to the supermarket on your own feels like a break. Sad, isn't it?
So
Oh,
true. It's so
yeah, so
true.
true.
It's so
Yeah.
true. And
Or,
it's interesting to hear the difference between people who have maybe older children or don't have children at all, what their answer to this question is, and what somebody who has young children. Because the thing is you definitely need to make time for yourself. So I'm going to preach to you a little bit. You definitely need to take some time for yourself and make time for those little things. So it's all good saying, this is what I would like to do, but book it in use your systems, book it into your diary so it makes you do it, because it is so hard when you're a parent of small children, because they literally take over. They need all of the time, and I understand it, but there is two of you. You are lucky in the fact there is two of you, so one can hold down the fort while the other goes and has some me time, and vice versa. You can do it for each other, because it is important that dads get time away as well. And I know a lot of people are just like, oh, dad's going to work all day and mum's at home and has to do it or whatever, but it is really important that you both get time to just break and take a minute. And that's why I love to ask that question, because I think it's really important that as business owners especially, but for you as a business owner with small children, remembering to take a break from it so you can rest and relax, recoup, come back better than ever is so important. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been an absolute fantastic conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Donna. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this week, guys. Join me next week for the next episode of the Mindset in Action podcast. Bye for now. Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.